The snowflakes gently fell upon the wooden cabin in the rural northern part of New York, nestled in the peaceful landscape, far away from the hustle and bustle of city life. The scene was tranquil, almost perfect, but there was an underlying tension beneath the surface. Welcome to today's story with the storyteller. Grab a cup of tea or coffee, relax, and join me as we explore a tale of betrayal, pain, and the quiet strength when facing the truth. This story begins on a winter evening, just a few days before Christmas. The camera moves through the cozy living room of a rented cabin, where friends and family are happily laughing and chatting. Andrew Miller, the storyteller, smiles gently, his eyes showing an indescribable sadness as he moves through the crowd. I never liked big gatherings, but my wife, Jessica, insisted that it would be a fun, even unforgettable occasion. So, we invited longtime friends, some of whom flew in from all over to join. Was something wrong? Our life seemed perfect. 11 years of marriage, a 4-year-old son, Daniel, a beautiful home in Boston. Everything was ideal. But that night, everything changed. Andrew's face becomes somber as he recalls the events. The scene shifts to the lively room filled with laughter, music, and clinking glasses as guests enjoy the party. Jessica moves gracefully between groups, ensuring everyone has enough food and drinks. She shines in her dark green sweater, her long hair flowing smoothly, her eyes sparkling with what Andrew believes is true joy. After drinking a bit too much, I left the party and went upstairs to rest for a bit. The laughter downstairs echoed faintly as I lay in bed, my mind starting to drift. Then a sound. Footsteps on the stairs. It was Jessica and her best friend Laura. They were a bit tipsy, giggling. I lay still, pretending to be asleep. I had no idea what awaited me. I overheard their conversation. They were talking about a man. That man. The one Jessica had been seeing all these years. And my world collapsed. Jessica's and Laura's voices are heard, their words of betrayal clear. Andrew clenches his fists, his body stiff with disbelief at what he is hearing. Jessica confessed to Laura about the affair. She described the man, their secret dates, how she had been deceiving me all these years. I was such a fool, trusting, kind, and completely unaware. The pain was unbearable, each word piercing my heart. The camera shifts to Andrew, now standing by the window, gazing out at the snowy night. His face is contemplative, showing the hurt and anger within him. A faint whisper echoes, and the camera focuses on Andrew's face, reflecting his confusion. I had to leave. I couldn't stay in that house, full of lies. I drove through the night, not knowing where I was going, just needing to get away from that place. The next morning, I found myself at my parents' house. I didn't know where to go anymore. I told them everything, what I had heard, what I had learned. My father, with his calm voice, gave me the strength I needed. He reminded me that I had a son to worry about, and I had the right to be strong, to do what needed to be done. The scene shifts, showing Andrew sitting at his childhood desk, looking at old family photos. The pain from the betrayal is still evident on his face. Narrator, voiceover. I called a lawyer, requested a paternity test. The truth would soon be revealed, no matter what it was. And Jessica, she called. Dozens of messages. But all I felt was disgust. The scene shifts again, showing Andrew driving back to the cabin. He is now sober, his determination evident in his eyes. The surroundings of the cabin are filled with the festive spirit, but everything now feels like a painful memory. The camera shows Andrew driving down snow-covered roads, his face tense, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The screen slowly fades to black as dawn begins to break. I walked in, and there she was, Jessica, frantic and worried, looking for me. But I was no longer fooled. I knew everything. The affair, the lies, her mockery. I faced her, and at that moment, I understood it all. The tears, the pleas, none of it mattered anymore. Jessica sat on the couch, clutching a pillow, crying uncontrollably. Andrew stood tall, steady, his voice cold and firm. She begged me not to leave, to try counseling. But how could I? How could I ever trust her again? She had betrayed me for all these years, and I could no longer pretend. Andrew walked away, his heart harder than ever. The following days were a chaotic blur. The divorce proceedings began. The results of the paternity test would be here soon. And in that silence, I found a new strength. I was no longer the man who believed in unconditional trust. I was someone else now, the man who would fight for his own happiness, for my son. I will raise Daniel with the truth, with integrity, no matter what the paternity test says. He deserves a better life than this. Andrew looked at his reflection in the window, his face hard but full of determination. The camera pulls back, showing him standing firm, ready to face whatever comes next. The scene shifts to a quiet Christmas morning. Andrew looks at Daniel, the little boy too young to understand the upheaval in his life. Daniel opens presents, and for a brief moment, Andrew's heart warms. And I will rebuild my life, not with her, but with the truth, with resilience, and with purpose. Happiness. Andrew sat in his car, staring into the space outside. The snow still fell steadily, but inside him, everything seemed to have stopped. He no longer felt the cold of winter, no longer since Christmas. All that remained was the emptiness and deep pain in his heart. That was one of the longest nights of my life. Driving aimlessly, not knowing where I was going, just wanting to escape everything. But in the end, I had to stop. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. I realized that no matter where I went, no matter how far I ran, I couldn't escape what had happened. The only thing I could do was face it. I stood there, motionless, listening to the wind blow, as if it was whispering something to me. A reminder, a warning. I had let my emotions control me for too long, let mistakes and pain lead me. But now it's different. I can't let that continue. He took out his phone, looking at the lawyer's contact number. In that brief moment, he made a decision. He couldn't keep living in uncertainty, couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The truth had to be known. And when I pressed call, I realized I wasn't just the man of betrayal anymore. I wasn't the one seeking revenge or tormenting myself in painful memories. I was the man starting over, reclaiming myself and my son. Daniel wouldn't have to witness this downfall. I would protect him. The call lasted longer than he expected. The lawyer gave professional advice, but Andrew only felt one thing: calm. Andrew stopped the car by the side of an empty road where no one could see him. He stepped out of the car and looked up at the dark sky, the only light coming from the twinkling stars. It felt as though the entire universe was here with him, witnessing the collapse of everything. Finally, I hung up and sat back in the car, not out of exhaustion, but because of something else: determination. I didn't need to change what had happened. I couldn't go back to the past, but I could change what happens next. I got back in the car and drove home. When I stepped inside, everything was the same, but I no longer felt the emptiness. I had decided I wouldn't accept any more apologies. I'd heard enough. Jessica stood there, facing him, her eyes full of worry. She wanted to explain, to change everything, but Andrew just looked at her in silence. The camera cuts back to Andrew, his face no longer marked by sorrow, but instead showing an attitude of calm strength. She began speaking again. More apologies, more excuses. But I no longer listened. Those words couldn't change the truth. I had been betrayed, and that couldn't be undone by any promises. Andrew stood tall, looking into Jessica's eyes one last time. His voice was firm and resolute. "Jessica, we're done. Thank you for the good memories. But I can't continue living this lie. Daniel, the boy, won't grow up in a family like this. And neither will I." Jessica froze, unable to say anything more. He turned and walked toward the door. The coldness in the house seemed to seep into his heart, but a part of him also felt a sense of relief. A new life was beginning now. Goodbyes aren't always sweet, but they're necessary. And I won't regret my decision. I walked out, leaving the past and the pain behind. The camera pulls back from the window, showing only Andrew's silhouette in the darkness, his figure stronger and more determined than ever. Life is full of challenges. We may stumble, but what matters is how we rise. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I will never let the past bury me. I will start over, not just for me, but for Daniel, for our future. My story may have ended here, but my life goes on. We can always change and rebuild. Don't let one mistake cost you everything. Don't let pain define your future. And sometimes, the truth is all we need to find happiness. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for listening.